Hello. We're going to deal with the three branches of government today, and so we're doing this. It's part of your Revolution and New Government packet. And so we'll go down and find this part that looks like this. You've got some reading to do, and here's the three branches of government. The three branches of government are basically the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Now, this idea came from the Enlightenment thinker, Mr. Baron Montesquieu, they'll get it right. And so, at any rate, he said that there should be defined powers and they should be divided between three branches. So instead of having just a Congress, as it was during the Articles of Confederation, they now added the two other branches. So the legislative branch is Congress, and it is the House of Representatives and the Senate. The executive branch is the president, the vice president, the cabinet, which are his advisors or her advisors, and the military and the police and the National Guard. Anything that the president needs to carry out the laws that have been set up by the legislature. Now, the third branch is the judicial branch, and that's the Supreme Court, but it's also all the court systems, whether you're talking about family court or traffic court, that's all part of it. Okay, what do they do? The legislative branch is headed by Congress. They have their offices in the Capitol, and the House of Representatives is based on population. The Senate has two each. And what do? They make and pass the laws. They have to agree to make and pass the laws. So it may pass by one. If it doesn't pass the other, it doesn't go anywhere. And how do they check the executive? If the president says, no, I don't want this, then they can get enough votes to override his veto. Congress controls the money. They have to pass the budget. So anybody who runs for president and says, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, he or she can't unless the Congress gives the money to do it. They declare war. Now, sometimes Congress has said, oh, Mr. President, go ahead and do what you want, and you don't have to ask us. But officially, they're supposed to declare war if we go to war. The other thing they do, which is kind of a check on both the executive and the judicial branch, is that if a president says, I want this person to be a judge, the Congress, the Senate specifically, can say, oh, no, you don't. Or they say, yeah, that's a good idea. It can go either way. So that's a check on who gets to be in the judicial branch, and it's also a check on what the executive is trying to do. So they check each other. House of Representatives is determined by population. Senate, they're two each. The executive branch, what does it do? It carries out the laws. Just like the executive of a company has the vision and says, this is what we want to do, the president may have a vision and he may say, let's have a law on this or let's have a law on that. But if Congress doesn't pass the law, he can only do things through executive order. And there's lots of presidents have done that. But they try to carry out the laws. They sometimes try to carry out the will of the people. And so if they're elected with a pretty large majority, they may say, this is what the people want me to do. But the thing that they do is they carry out the laws. They get the things done. Now, what can they do to check the Congress? So if Congress does something that the president really doesn't like, he can veto it, because a bill doesn't become a law until the president signs it. And he may say, nope, I'm not going to. Veto. What can he do to check or control the judicial branch? He appoints justices. He appoints judges. And so if those things don't happen, we don't get things done as well. The judicial branch is headed by the Supreme Court, and this is the Supreme Court building. Now, what's interesting is that the president and the Congress are working together all the time to get laws and to get things carried out, and the Supreme Court doesn't really come into action until after the law is in effect. Okay, it's like the Affordable Care Act. It's a law, it's in action, but some people don't like it, and so they have sued and said, we want to stop this law. So one of the times they did that, the Supreme Court said, no, this is perfectly legal. And so that some people are trying again from another angle. But see that the Supreme Court doesn't get involved until the law is actually in action. Same thing with the president. The Supreme Court can't say in advance that no, you can or can't do something. The president has to do it, and then the Supreme Court can say, well, nope, that's unconstitutional. You can't do that anymore. And the same thing is true of laws. They can say, well, nope, we've decided this is not constitutional. You can't do it anymore. And so that's how they check each other. But basically what the Supreme Court is, what court systems do, is they try to interpret the laws, they try to explain the laws, and they want to make sure that the law is handled fairly. So if a person breaks this law, this person and this person and this person are all punished or reprimanded or treated the same. Which branch? I'm going to just stop here and let you run through the rest of it, because it's all information you can just look at. And at the very end, there's just a little link. There's two things. Near the end, I'll just kind of flip to the right spot here. You can go back and go slower. Or you can look at the one that says Revolution and New Government. Here's what I want to talk about again. So the middle part you can look at on your own. This is talking about how many people are in the House of Representatives. How many representatives do we have? Minnesota has 8. Well, what this shows is when people move into a state and there's more population, there's more representatives. And so the blue states are ones that are gaining. The green states are ones that people are leaving those states, and so they're losing representation. So that's what happens. Minnesotans and salaries you can look at. Well, you need to watch the video here. Click on 3 branches of government and you'll see a Schoolhouse Rock video on the 3-ring circus. And the next one is just a fun thing. If you click the link, you will get a nice quiz on, is this something Mr. Bush did or is this something Mr. Obama did? And you might find that it's really interesting to find out. So you're going to want to go back and look through the things I went through quickly and take your time. And you can do that on the regular PowerPoint. And so you can do this, I should have said earlier, by putting this at half screen and then putting your government packet in the other.